Hey Zoobox Nation, it's Mike here. And today, instead of talking about nonsense, we're going to talk about sports. We're going to talk about UFC 251 post-fight. So, I want to talk to you all about Daniel Cormier and Stipe Miocic. Third trilogy fight, rubber match there, and my thoughts on it. Number one, I thought Daniel Cormier won the first round, and I thought he won the second round, but I could see I could see in the second round that Stipe could have won that because of how it ended. So, with that being said, I understand how it ended, but the majority of the round, I give it to Daniel. Round 3 goes to Stipe. Round 4 to Stipe. And round 5 to me was actually the hardest round. I think Stipe won. I think he did win the round, but I'm not sure, but not by much. And here's the deal. The eye poke that Daniel Cormier suffered in that fight, in my opinion, played a big part of that. Had a huge, huge significance of how that fight went. I mean, Daniel Cormier could only see that one eye. If people are out there saying that didn't affect it, that definitely affected the fight. And that kind of eye poke, I hope Daniel Cormier is okay from that. I mean, he could potentially lose that eye, and lose the sight in that eye. I mean, that eye poke was nasty. I mean, and in my opinion, there should have been a point taken away. There should have been a point, whether it was an accident or not. That kind of eye poke is so significant that if you poke somebody, it compromises your component so much. I mean, if you can only see out of one eye, it's like, it's not fair. I mean, it's just not a fair fight. And if you do it, and if it's against the rules and you did it, it should be deducted points, maybe even 2. Now, with that being said, I mean, when I watched the fight, I said, are they going to stop this? I thought maybe, hey, this could be a stoppage. I mean, because you're compromising. The guy can only see out of one eye. That means every punch that comes, I mean, if you have every punch from the direction that he can't see, the eye that he can't see, I can't remember. I think it was his left eye. So all of Stipe's right hands, if that is correct, if I'm remembering correctly, he cannot see from. I mean, he can literally not see that punch coming or kick. I mean, if Stipe was an awesome kicker, I mean, you just cannot see it coming. You have no way to defend against it. So, I mean, I'm not mad. Okay, so at the end of the day, do I think the fight should have been stopped? Well, I don't know. But all I'm saying is this. I'm just saying that, hey, was it a fight that could have been stopped because of the eye poke? Yes. I mean, it could have. Did it compromise Daniel Cormier's fighting? Yes. Did it play a role in the outcome of the fight? Yes. How much of a role? What was the percentage? I don't know, because when that eye poke came, Stipe Miocic was starting to dominate. Stipe Miocic was starting to push the pace. But Daniel Cormier always says this. He always says, I take the third round off. So was it a case of, hey, I'm going to pick it up and then I'm going to take this third round off because I feel like I have the first one and maybe I won the second one, and I'm going to take this, rest in this one, and then I'm going to push the pace? Was that his strategy? I don't know. But I do know this. I do know that eye poke played a role. I know that eye poke definitely had a significant impact in that fight. What do I think? As far as should they have given the fight to Stipe? Yes, because I feel that Stipe in the last 3 rounds dominated the fight. But was that because of the eye poke? Was it because DC could not see out of that eye? Was it because of, even if DC can't see, he's like always second guessing, getting in his own head about it, like, oh my goodness, I could get punched from from my blind side. What did that play a part in it? Did that play a part in his mental game? I mean, these are things that we just don't know. So I don't know. I'm not mad at the decision. I'm not mad that Stipe won. I definitely felt that Stipe won the last 3 rounds. And like I said, that 5th round was close. But I still give it to Stipe just because of, he dominated. He didn't dominate, but that's the wrong word, but he definitely controlled the fight more. But, with that being said, was that because of the eye poke? I mean, I'm just going to keep on going back to that eye poke. I don't know, but I will say that it was a great fight. And I will say that before the fight started, and I was watching all the, the weigh-ins, and I watched the pre-fight interviews and all of this stuff. And I did say this to myself. I said, Stipe Miocic looks amazing. Stipe Miocic looks like he's ready to win. I mean, the guy looked fit. The guy looked like he was ready to go. His spirits, even when he was talking, it was very clear. Like, he looked like he was on point. He looked like he had a great fight camp. And I heard some things about DC's camp that were just kind of concerning. And honestly, I mean, I think DC, at this point, he's 41, 42 years old, like, whatever it is, like, I think it's time for him to retire. And not that that fight was a bad fight, because I just think that, he's getting old and he's dealing with injuries, and these fights camps are a lot on him. They are. So, I mean, I feel bad for DC losing it. I was rooting for DC. My heart was, my mind before the fight said, hey, Stipe has I was going to give it to Stipe. But what we did see in that fight, we did see that Daniel Cormier still is an elite heavyweight and still has the speed. I mean, if you watch that fight, you watch Daniel Cormier coming out of those clinch works, pounding him. And man, can Stipe take a punch. I mean, some of those freaking hits that Stipe took, I mean, those were clean shots that Daniel was giving him. It was amazing. When they would break up and pow, he would just come up with that right hand. I mean, it was amazing. I mean, that Stipe could withhandle that, that force. But I do want to say this. I do not want to take away the fact of Stipe Miocic's win, because this is the second time that he's beat Daniel, and he made some great adjustments. Number one, he did not lean in. He did not play the game like, hey, Daniel, you're not going to take me down. He did not let Daniel try to take him down. Daniel Cormier tried to take him down. Number two, when they got in the clinch and Daniel got his arm over his neck and does that hang where he's hanging on his body, then he pops up with the right hand, Stipe would grab that arm, put it down, says, no, you're not going to freaking punch me. Also, what Stipe did was amazing was he actually pushed him up against the fence. He said, okay, you're going to try to wrestle me, you're going to try to hang on me? Well, let's go to the fence. Because the fence acts as, normal wrestling, they don't have a fence. So when you have that fence there, it's like you can't take the guy down, you can't drive. The fence almost acts as like a extra like an extra almost like guy to hold somebody up from takedowns and to pin somebody there. Like, that's why I was saying in the other video, like, Khabib Nurmagomedov, like, his ability on the fence is better than anybody else's. The one thing I think personally, the one area where mixed martial arts, well, at least in the UFC, has not caught up in other cage fights, is against the fence. Like Khabib Nurmagomedov, if you watch Khabib and you see his fence work, it is so much better than anybody else. Like, nobody's doing what he's doing on the fence, and I don't understand this. I don't understand why fighters don't work on their takedowns when they're up against the fence, when they have somebody up against the fence. How do you use the fence to your advantage? Because it is right there, and it is a big advantage if you know how to use it. If you watch Khabib, like I said in my last video, he's not going to take you down in the open. He's going to drag you up against the fence, take you down, get on top of you, and ground and pound you. I would love to see that evolve more in the UFC. Like, guys coming out and being like, okay, I'm going to take some notes out of Khabib's playbook, and I'm going to put it into my own and work on that game there. But with that being said, the fight was amazing. It was an awesome fight. I mean, Daniel Cormier went out on a shield. The cool thing about Daniel Cormier, even though I thought that fight could have been stopped, the cool thing about Daniel Cormier, you can say what you want about the guy, but the guy's a warrior. And he didn't give up. I mean that eye poke was vicious. I mean, that eye, oh my goodness, I hope he's okay. I hope that they can save that eye. Like, that's how bad it is. Like, that eye poke, DC could potentially be blind. I mean, that eye poke was significant. I mean, that was a nasty eye poke. They need to, the UFC needs to use different gloves, because everything I heard about the gloves is that it like opens it, like they need something better. I mean, because this happens over and over again and again and again. They need to change it. But at the end of the fight there, I'm not mad. I'm not mad that Stipe won. I think I think he deserved to win, but I will say that IPO kind of helped him, and I don't think he did it on purpose. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that it happened, and whether he didn't want it to happen or whatever the case may be, it happened, and it played a role in the fight and how the fight went down. But anyways, I'm really looking forward to who they're going to put up against him. Whether it's John Jones, I would love to see that fight, or whether it's Francis Ngannou. Well, we are just going to have to see. Now, the fight before, Sean O'Malley. Not much to say. I mean, Sean O'Malley, like, I don't think he lost that fight in the way of like, hey, he like got beat. I mean, I think he got injured, and I think that played a big part in that fight. And I would like to see that fight again. And I don't think that, but that's a fight game. It is what it is. Like, he lost, and I guess he did lose, but I don't think he lost that much stock in it, and I don't think that he lost that much respect. I mean, to me it looked like he twisted an ankle. I do that all the time. That same freaking ankle too. Like, the same way he twisted that ankle, I've done that like so many times. So I know, like, that ankle injury, that sucks. That's not a very good, like that, like when you roll on the outside of your ankle, not good. I've done that, and I actually did it this summer, beginning of summer. It's just horrible. Like, I hate that, because I have that same ankle problem where like my ankle likes to roll from the outside. But Sean O'Malley, I will say this: I've implemented into my conditioning and my training some ankle strength things that I do just real quick. I just do like 20 or 30 of them on each leg, and a couple different variations, and just to try to strengthen those muscles around the ankle, because I do have weak ankles. That is my nemesis, my ankles. They kind of suck, but hey, everybody has a weak part there. But anyways, that's UFC 252. I didn't go through all of it. I just really wanted to go through the main card there. The fight below the fight below Sean O'Malley's fight was, not really much to talk about. He got hurt. Obviously I don't want to take away from Machito. Like, he clearly beat him, but at the same time, I mean, I would like to see that fight again. I think it was going to be a good fight. So we'll just see. We'll see what Sean O'Malley's going to do. And, hopefully they, give Stipe something good. Really looking for that John Jones fight. That's what I'm looking for. Anyways, if you have any questions, or even just let me know what your thoughts are on the fight. Like, let me know if you think, tell me what you scored it. Tell me what rounds you gave Daniel, if you gave any. Some people had it 4-1. I had it 3-2. The first 2 rounds to Daniel, but I could see how that second round, like I said before, could have went to Stipe because of the way it ended. And I did feel that Stipe won the last 3. But let me know. Let me know what your opinion is, who you think Stipe should fight next, and overall opinions of the fight night. So leave a comment below. See you later, Zoobox.